The saying goes that those who warn don't catch you by surprise. And for a long time we've been warning here about what's going to happen to Brazil. While people want to delude themselves about the upcoming elections, where it's just going to be more of the same, the current government is frighteningly certain that it will stay in power. God knows why they're so confident. It's because of this that many companies are leaving Brazil. And not just them, but many Brazilians are also selling their belongings and moving to neighboring countries. Those who have more are able to go farther. And why are they so sure about that? Well, for the last 3 reports, I want to thank our dear brother very much. I stopped by here. A big hug for him. These 3 reports point to this reality. The first one was published by Agência Brasil Tax Reform. Government postpones it to 2021. In 2027, CNPJ will be required for individuals and rural producers. In this second report, published by Fenacom, property owners who rent out their properties will need a CNPJ to issue invoices starting in 2027. And the last one we'll see today, a farmer plants African mahogany on 3 hectares in the countryside of Goiás, waits 15 years to harvest, and finds out at the time of sale that he needs authorization from IBAMA, which can take up to 2 years. All of this, my noble and dear brothers, creates a broader context. And I'm going to explain this to you now, as soon as you grab your beet juice and the leftover lasagna from Father's Day, and we start our segment, Senhores do Mundo. Senhores do Mundo, gentlemen, let's start with a real story that perfectly explains the mentality of the state towards those who try to generate wealth on their own. Imagine the following scenario. You are a small rural producer. 15 years ago, you decided to invest your own money, your sweat, and your time in planting African mahogany, a valuable hardwood with high commercial value. Planted in a small area of just 3 hectares in the countryside of Goiás, for a decade and a half, that man took on all the risk. Risk of a pest, risk of fire, and the owner's inability to protect his own property. That's the truth. But even so, that man decided to take the risk. He paid for the fertilizers, put up fences with his own hands, cutting his fingers, made sure pests didn't take over, cleared the land, and the state gave him nothing. It didn't help with absolutely anything. It didn't offer him anything. No guarantee or help, as usual. Finally, the day comes to reap the fruit of 15 years of work and a risky bet. The buyer is ready, the contract is on the table, and it's exactly at that moment that the heavy hand of the state appears. When trying to sell, the farmer finds out he needs a license and special authorization from IBAMA, a bureaucratic process that, according to the sector's own estimates, can take up to 2 years to be processed. Now, my dear brother, you who are not a child, you who are not fooled, you who are truly awakened, tell me what buyer would wait 2 years to buy a product that he needs right now? What the state is doing is absurd. And if we think a little more about this case, it's even more absurd. The tree is not native to virgin forest. It was planted by the farmer himself in a private area, meaning it wouldn't exist if that man hadn't done it. However, to hell with logic. The state arrogated to itself the right to block that producer's property rights and livelihood for 24 months through bureaucracy. Why do I consider this case vital for us to understand what is happening in our country? The answer is simple, because it demonstrates the first pillar of the plan, absolute control. For the state apparatus, the citizen is not the legitimate owner of their property or their work. The citizen is just a temporary holder, subject to the whims of bureaucrats and regulatory agencies, period. And if this is already happening in the countryside with wood, what is the government preparing now? It's going to go directly into your home, your property, and your bank account. For those who are saying, but I don't work with land, I don't plant trees, it's going to hit your ass and mine too. Well, listen. While the rural producer faces bureaucracy in the countryside, another trap is being set up in the cities. This directly affects millions of families who invested their life savings in real estate to secure extra income for retirement. The tax reform, sold in official propaganda as a simplification of the tax system, hides a devastating structural change in the fine print. With the new regulation of complementary law, Number 214, rental of real estate is no longer seen as simple asset management by individuals and is now classified as a for-profit transaction involving property subject to the new taxes: IBS, tax on goods and services, and CBS, contribution on goods and services. What is this and how does it apply in practice? Well, according to the established rules, owners of rental properties who reach certain income limits, for example, those who have more than 3 properties with an annual gross income over 240,000 Rs, or those who receive more than 288,000 Rs in a year. Regardless of the number of properties, they will be required to register with the CNPJ and issue electronic invoices for each rental. They say you don't need to open a formal company, it's just a tax identification registration. My friend, don't be fooled by this euphemism. Creating this requirement for individuals to have a CNPJ is not just a technical detail. It's the creation of a real-time tax tracking and surveillance structure. From the moment the government requires citizens to issue electronic invoices for having rental properties, it gains access to automatic data cross-checks, supplementary notary costs, ancillary obligations, and of course, laying the groundwork for the application of the new IBS and CBS rates. The small investor who bought 2 or 3 apartments to have some security in old age is about to be treated by the tax authorities as a major real estate entrepreneur. The consequences are that the profit margin shrinks, administrative costs increase, and the freedom to manage your own assets is stifled. Why not say strangled? Now we've reached the main point of the video. If these fiscal tightening measures on rural producers, individuals, and property owners are already outlined and approved, why don't they take effect immediately? The answer is found in the third news story we read today. The federal government has formally postponed the requirement for the CNPJ and the new obligations to January 1, 2027. The question is this: what happens in 2026? In 2026, we will have the presidential elections. We will choose the governors, senators, and representatives. Everything becomes clear when we analyze the political strategy of the current government. The main objective is to maintain power at any cost in the short term. If the government were to implement a real increase in the tax burden, require business registration, add bureaucracy for rural producers, and tighten regulations on property owners. In 2024 or 2025, the impact of inflation on rental costs and the administration's popularity would be immediate and devastating. Widespread rejection would make any re-election impossible.
E qualquer projeto de reeleição para 2026.
So what was the solution found by the architects of the economic plan to push the bill until after the election? They create the illusion of stability during the years in office. They provide temporary relief for the voter, saying, "We postponed the requirement. We are protecting the producer." But the plain truth is that the law is already approved. The trigger is already set and the countdown has started. In 2026, they ask for your vote. They promise continuity, stability. And on January 1st, 2027, just a few weeks after the end of the electoral process, the bomb goes off. If the current government is re-elected, it will have secured another 4 years in office and won't need to be immediately accountable to the electorate, allowing it to rake in money to keep the government machine running. And if the opposition wins, it will inherit a country with a pre-programmed tax trap, having to manage the social and economic chaos created by rules that will come into effect on the very day the new administration takes office. It's the perfect tactic of fiscal and electoral irresponsibility. The political benefits are reaped now, and the bitter bill is left for the citizens to pay in 2027. In the rental market, when property owners are forced to operate with a business tax ID and pay new taxes on rent, where do you think, my dear brother, that cost will be transferred to? If you're the kind of person who thought, "I don't own rental properties, I pay rent, so I don't care," well, you're the one who's going to pay the highest price. The property owner, for all intents and purposes, is the owner. And what he's going to do is not take a loss, but pass all the extra expenses on through the rent. Basically, the person needing the property will end up losing out. So, the high cost that will be generated will be transferred to the final rental price. The person who rents a house to live in or a commercial space to work in will pay more starting in 2027. In agribusiness and food, When there are complex registrations and tax IDs for individual rural producers, it creates more barriers to entry and higher operational costs for agriculture. This reduces competitiveness and makes food more expensive for all Brazilians. In terms of legal certainty, the case of the Mahogany farmer in Goiás shows that the business environment in Brazil rewards passivity and punishes long-term investment. People planning for 15 years are surprised by bureaucracy. Those who invest in assets are caught off guard by tax traps deferred over time. The plan of those in power is clear: collect more, control more, and postpone the backlash until the polls close. My friends, the moral of the story is this, my brothers. Knowledge is the only defense we have left in a scenario like this. When we read the isolated news about the farmer blocked by Ibama, about the requirement for a CNPJ for landlords, or about the postponement of tax rules to 2027, we might think these are just technical economic topics, but they're not. It's politics shaping your financial future without asking anyone's permission. The bomb for 2027 is armed. It's up to us, as citizens and taxpayers, to expose this mechanism and understand the chess move before checkmate, and to demand transparency and accountability from our representatives. Unfortunately, the population bought into the narrative that we shouldn't hold them accountable, that we should blindly support them, and that in this way, those who are elected will do what people need. And honestly, my brothers, seeing this scenario, I can understand why so many people, including those who have built up significant wealth, are leaving this country. It's becoming increasingly clear, my brothers, the chaotic scenario that's coming in 2027. What the PT just did wasn't simply making unpopular decisions, but, as became clear in this video, creating a real ticking time bomb. Even if they weren't in power in 2027, the date that was set, January 1st, for it to take effect, would already be the time bomb, exploding in the hands of whoever takes over, even if it's not them. But to me, deep down, this shows that they're sure they'll be in power again. And since they'll have 4 years ahead of them, they don't even care if the measure is unpopular or not. Checkmate in Brazil has already happened. It's because of things like this, my brothers, that I've been telling you. I know it often seems absurd to think about it. Is everyone really going to leave the country? Obviously not. But if there's even the slightest chance you can do it, my brothers, because turbulent days are ahead. This video ends here. If the information was useful, please share it and show it to more people. This is more serious than you think, my brothers. And because this news is reported but not commented on in the country's main news outlets, it goes unnoticed. Is it not happening now? Then why report this on Jornal Nacional? The truth is that these news outlets were never really there to inform and prepare the people. Pro-government media should explain exactly what I'm explaining to you here, so that people would get outraged, and instead of thinking about elections, they would be thinking about protests, about stopping the country, for example. But we know that's not going to happen. Brazilians are a curious people. They say they don't like politicians, but as soon as elections come around, everyone picks a side, and they're even willing to fight with their own relatives. With a reality like this, my brothers, and with bombs like these set up, you start to understand, or maybe even be among those who think that the solution for this country is getting on the next flight out. Leave it in the comments, my brothers, because this video ends here. I hope you enjoyed it and above all, understood it. If so, please share it, show it to more people. If things have to happen, let it not be because of our omission or deafening silence. Even if we can't change it, let us be the voice crying out in the wilderness. May God be with you, my brothers. Take care, and we will always keep facing the supernatural together here on Encarando, a Sobrenatural Official.